Okay, so now let's look at some valid expressions in when using arrays. So I'll just go ahead and create two arrays, int a, int a, and I want to put in the size of, let's say, 5, and I want to just say 1 2 3 3. Let me just leave it at 3. Then I can have an int b of size 7, and I want to put in, I stopped at 3, so 4 5 6 7 8 9. So how many elements? 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? Leaving one room for the last element, right? But let's just leave it this way since it's legal to do that. Now we'll look at the first way. So I want to reassign this to, let's say I want to make this 4. So we have already done that already, and that's going to be a at, we want to reassign this element. So that's the second index, sorry. So we have to put in 1 over here, right? And we are equating that to 4 because that's what we want to put in there now, right? So this position will now be taken 4. We have already looked at that concept, right? So let's create a variable for that, and let's just say this is int n1, new value 1, right? So this is just int n1. So we've looked at this and it's valid, and that's what we just did over here. The only difference is that we equated, or we stored it under a variable called n1. Now what we want to do over here is, as you can see, I've said value and value here. So we can create, we can reassign the, so this is storing value, a number 4, right? Int n1 is storing a value of 4. So we want to use this particular variable as an index for b. So what I mean is, we want to say b, and at index of n1, you can pass in variables as well into this square brackets in order to assign parameters. So in order to assign new elements or update elements, so we want to say that the index at 4, that's going to be 0 1 2 3 4. Over here should now be 10, right? So it should now be 10, not 8. So let's just go ahead and run this to see that, to make sure we don't have any errors. It's always good to periodically run your code so that you can debug if you get any error before the code gets a lot way large, right? So we have no errors and we can do this. So when we print the index at 8 or the index at 4, we get 10 now because it's been updated. So this is legal as well. Then we look at third one, and we can also have, right? So let's say that now that this parameter or the index at this particular place is 10, now what I want to do is I want to create a variable called int add, or let's just say added, is equal to, I want to say, I want to add 9 plus the value of this. So I'll copy this and paste it over here. So now what this will do is it's going to add 9 to the value of b index 4. So b index 4 is 0 1 2 3 4, is this particular position, but we updated the value to 10, right? So this should then be 9 plus 10, which is to return 18. So let's just go ahead and run this. So see out, and we are outputting added, right? So let's run this, and we should be expecting 19, sorry, not 18, right? So we have a 19 over there. So that is a legal expression. We look at the last one, which is name. So you have an array index inside an index, and we are reassigning that. This is quite messy. Now this is what I want to do. Let me just clear out all this so we can concentrate up here. Now what will this return? A1. What will this return? This is going to be number 2, right? Because a index 1, that's going to be 0 1. So this whole, what this will return is going to be 2, right? So then I can have this as well, b index 2. So now that here is 2, and I want to in some cases you might want to use this because that will be what your program will require. So you want to pick the first index of array 1, and whatever element is going to output, you want to use that output as the argument into the index of B to get that element, right? So it's kind of mixed up right now, but just note the format, and if the situation arises, then you can use it. So what will this return? So let's just run this cout, and we know already that it's going to return the value at index 2. That's going to be 0 1 2 3. It's going to 0 1 2 is going to return 6. So let's go ahead and run this and be sure that we have a working code. So we run this, we have a 6 in there, right? So we can do this. And what we want to do is we want to assign that particular, we want to update the 6 to be, no, I'm not going to create a third array, but you can create a third array and then pass that index in there plus 4. Well, let's just do it in C. So let's say we have int C, and we want to have 6 elements in there, and we have elements. So I've used 9. So let's just say 11, 12, 13, right? So this is a third array. And now this array is going to be, so we want to assign, I want to say this is equal to C, and let's say A1 plus 8. So what will this do? Let me just clear this because we are reassigning an element, right? So what will this do? Let's take a look at this code again. We saw that B of this index will return 6. That means it's this index. So right, so what we are doing now is we are assigning that position, the position that 6 occupies. Now we are assigning this to a new value. And what is that value going to be? That value is going to be C index A1, and A1 is 0 1, A1 is 2, so all this will return 2. So this is going to be C index 2, that's going to be 0 1 2, that's going to be 13. So all this is going to return 13 plus 8, right? That's going to be 21. So the new value of 6 is going to be 21, right? So let's go ahead after this line of code to return B index 2 to see what the new updated value is. So we go ahead and we run this, and we should be getting 21, right? And we got 21 over there. So this is legal as well. You can pass this kind of code into as an argument into the index for an array, right? As long as the need arises. So I'll go ahead and comment out all of this. And now what we want to look at is examining the intuition behind this block. So looping through arrays. So right. So I want to loop through arrays. So let me just copy one of these, and so that we can loop through it. So I think I should just create a new one. Okay, so let's say that we have int numbers, and we have a size of, what size? Let's say 10. And we have one numbers up to 1, 2. So this is an array of size 10, and these are the elements that are under that array. Now, if we print out this cout and we want to print out numbers, we'll see that we get the memory address returned. That's not what we want. We want the complete list of this array. So we get the memory address over here returned, and that's not what we want. So what we can do is we can use a loop, a for loop, to go through this, and we can say for int n. You can use any number, int n, j, I, a, anything. So we can say int n is equal to 0. So now what is the condition? The condition is that as long as n is less than, let's say less than or equal to, and see what is going to happen, less than or equal to the size, which is going to be 10, right? Then what we want to do is we want to increase the index within that particular array. So what should we then do? We want to cout numbers and put in index n in here. And when you output the first element, in fact, let's run this to see the output so we can make certain changes. So we run this, and we have an error over here. It says the expected semicolon before this, so I should have used a semicolon over here, not a comma, right? So semicolon, note that, not comma, right? So we run this, and now we have see what was returned. Gibberish. Even though we have the elements up to 10, but we have these extra gibberish things, right? So those gibberish things come from this what I used over here equals. So when we want to look at it carefully, this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is only up to index 9 and not up to index 10. We have declared outside the scope of this index, so that's where the gibberish was coming from when you declare outside the scope. So we go ahead and clear this, and then we run this code again, and we get just up to 10 right now, but we see that it's not really readable. It looks like one number. So what I want to do over here is after every element that it prints, so for numbers, so in fact let's look at the intuition behind this code. So for int n is equal to 0, loop through if n is less than 10. So what we've done over here is it first takes n equal to 0, then it comes in here and puts in n equal to 0 here. So n equals 0 is what? 1, right? So it outputs 1. Then it increases n over here, and then n becomes 2. And it checks the condition. N is still less than 10. So it then executes this code, numbers 2 at index. Sorry, it increases it to 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So it increases to 1. So index 1 is going to be 2. Then 1 plus 1, the increment over here will be 2. So it checks to see if n is less than 10. So 2 is less than 10. Then it comes here, numbers 2. Numbers at index 2 is going to be 0, 1, 2. Right? So it prints out 3 in that order. But what we want to do is after it prints out an element, we want this space over here. So we can use a tab, right? So this will be a tab over there, and then we run this, and then we should get a space. We should get space in between the elements. So we have 1, 2, 3 up to 10, right? We could have also made a new line or something of that sort in this vertical order, right? So we could have also done this. So that's how to print out the elements of an array. So you could have had string words over here as well. You can do it the same way. Okay, so that is it, and we will move further. Then we want to declare an array with size and later assign elements. Yeah, so let's say that we have an array of int nums, and we are declaring it in later assigning elements. So we know that it's going to be of size 70. Maybe we are in our program we're expecting 70 values from a computation. I don't know what it might be. It can be anything that you have done. You're expecting the 70 values to be returned. So you just create an array of size 70, and later on you want to assign those values as they come along. It might be user input that 70 users will be coming, and you want to store all of those inputs that the 70 users will be inputting into an array. It can be anything. So that depends on the program you want to write. So let's say that we have declared it. So later on we want to assign values. So you can then come over here and assign them. So you can say nums at index 2 is equal to, we want to assign 9 to it, right? We run this and we should get no problem. Oh, this thing is still run. So let me just go ahead and comment out all of this. So comment out in this place as well. Right, so we run this and we should get no error, right? So there's no error over here. And you can also come and say nums at the fifth position we wanted to store a value of 78, and we get no error over there. So when you call out the index at index 2, index 5 is going to return those values. So let's see out nums 0. We have not input anything in there, and we get 0 returned, right? So there's nothing over there. But when you input index, let's say index 5, we should be getting this 78, right? We got 78 over there. So that's how to declare without parameters first, just like a variable. So I'll just clear out this so we can move further. Multi-dimensional arrays.